As two female geologists collect samples in the Alaskan wilderness, a predatory black bear makes its approach. The attack is brutal and ferocious, but miraculously, one of the women make it out alive. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying fatal bear attack on Erin Johnson. Welcome to Final Affliction. Erin Johnson was 27 years old. She had graduated from Chugiak High School in 2007 and had gone on to study geology and botany at the University of Montana and Anchorage, Alaska. She was adventurous and loved the outdoors. She had a passion for Nordic skiing and excelled in the sport, going on to represent the USA in the Junior Olympic Nordic ski team in 2006 and 2007. Her passion for the outdoors and adventure was reflected in the career she embarked on. She worked for Alaska Biological Research, putting her studies to good use as a field technician. On June 19, 2017, she was assigned to work at Pogo Mine. The mine, situated 90 miles east of Fairbanks in Alaska, is a gold mine that has been operating since 2006. It was owned by Japanese mining companies Sumitomo Metal Mining and Sumitomo Corporation, but has since changed hands to Australian gold producer Northern Star Resources. Erin's job was to collect geological samples from the land around the mine. The mine employs contractors to conduct work at its sites, but being very much in bear country, it ensures anyone working for it undergoes practical bear training. Employees are taught how to safely and effectively use bear spray and have the option of carrying a rifle into the field with them too. No one is sent out to work alone, as it is considered too dangerous. 6 people were employed to conduct field work on that fateful day in June. They were paired off to ensure each other's safety, and Erin was paired with 38-year-old Ellen Trainer from Fairbanks. The employees were transported by helicopter to their respective sites and began work. The whole group was in radio contact with one another as they were dropped off into the wilderness in their pairs. Unfortunately for Erin and Ellen, the helicopter had just dropped them a short distance from a very hungry male black bear. Erin and Ellen got to work. They collected soil samples along a transect that could then be analyzed for different components back in the labs. They needed to record the exact location of each sample, as well take detailed notes regarding the surrounding vegetation, soil structure, and pH. It was an incredible place to work. Being in the outdoors, conducting scientific research, was better than any desk job, and the two like-minded women hit it off straight away. But being so focused on taking the soil samples, they didn't notice a predator approaching them from downwind. The male black bear had smelt them from a long way off and had crept closer to investigate. When it spotted the two women, it changed into predatory mode. It moved silently through the trees, standing stock still whenever the women stood up or turned to look in his direction. It was hidden by the wide tree trunks. Any sound of his approach was muted by the breeze rattling the branches and the quiet chatter of the two women as they worked. The bear was cunning. He approached the pair from behind, out of their line of sight. At the time, Erin and Ellen were talking about the presence of bears in the area. They had completed the most recent round of bear training only 2 months earlier. They discussed the action they should take if they did come across a bear. Little did they know that their training was about to be put to the test as the bear moved closer. It managed to get within 3 meters of the two workers before they saw it. Erin and Ellen looked up at the imposing figure of the black bear. He was staring at them, and their eyes locked. They were in a vulnerable position, both crouched on the ground collecting samples. Their hearts thundered in their chests for a few moments, and they instinctively reached for their bear spray, which was attached to a holster on their hips. But the bear rushed at them. It covered the distance between them in less than a second and swiped with its huge, powerful paws. Erin was sent crashing to the ground, and the bear immediately leapt on top of her. In a desperate attempt to save her colleague, Ellen sprayed the bear in its face as it tucked into Erin. The bear shook its head and stepped backwards momentarily before lunging at them again. It tore into Erin, but as Ellen continued to release her bear spray and yell and shout, the bear turned its attention to her. It let go of Erin, who had been badly mauled, and jumped on top of Ellen. The attack was ferocious and unforgiving. The bear wasn't afraid of the two women. It was intent on causing as much damage as quickly as possible. The two women were fighting back, but it seemed like nothing they did deterred the bear. It continued its powerful attack, biting and clawing at the two women, though Erin got the brunt of it. Teeth bit into her head, neck, and shoulders. The long, sharp claws sliced across her chest and torso. The sound of the bear growling as it mauled the two women over and over filled their ears, a terrifying sound of a great predator devouring its meal. In all the commotion, Ellen lost her glasses. She was now fighting blind. She lost sight of Erin, and she lost sight of the bear. With all the shouting and hitting back, the bear retreated. It skulked away, looking back over its shoulder at its injured prey. Hurriedly, Ellen grabbed the radio and transmitted a mayday call. They were just 8 kilometers from the mine, and within minutes they heard the whirring of a helicopter high over the trees. Ellen didn't move. She was lying unresponsive on the ground. As the helicopter lowered a winch down, Ellen was lifted into the sky and back to the mine, where she was transported by ambulance to hospital in Fairbanks. The helicopter then returned for Erin, but she was nowhere to be seen. An employee from Pogo Mine was lowered to the ground to search for her. He could see the disturbed earth where the two women had put up a fight. He could see spatters of blood and the scattered equipment across the ground. Then he noticed a trail. The vegetation had been flattened where something or someone had been dragged. Cautiously, he followed it, with his rifle locked and loaded. Just yards along the trail, he spotted the bear, standing over Erin's body. He didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired at the bear. It slumped to the ground, and he raced to Erin's side. She was gone. Tragically, she had lost her life in the great outdoors. Although she had been doing something she loved, she was taken far too young. The news of her passing was a shock for those working for the mine and a terrible and irreplaceable loss for her family. Only a few weeks earlier, Erin had married the love of her life and best friend, Abe. They were embarking on their new lives together when the tragedy struck, and now Abe would have to navigate his life without Erin by his side. Her family described her as a beautiful, compassionate, and passionate person who lived her life to the fullest. The Department of Fish and Game investigated the incident. From what Ellen described and from the evidence found at the scene, the two women had been victims of a predatory attack. These attacks are incredibly rare and are the most dangerous. Very little can be done if you are unknowingly being stalked by a bear, as they use the element of surprise to creep up on you before delivering a highly aggressive and powerful attack. Often the attack is too sudden to deploy the use of bear spray or a gun. After recovering in hospital from her injuries, Ellen was able to provide more details of the attack. She described how she sprayed the bear extensively in the face, but to no avail. The bear wasn't deterred by the spray and ensued its hyper-aggressive attack on the two women. It was intent on killing them, and nothing, it seemed, would stop it from succeeding. As news of the attack spread, those living in Alaska were deeply concerned. It was the second fatal mauling by a bear in the state in the same week. Only days earlier, a 16-year-old boy had been killed in a predatory attack whilst he ran in a cross-country race south of Anchorage. A further 2 attacks occurred 1 week later, but the victims managed to escape with their lives. Alaska had only ever recorded 6 fatal bear attacks in the previous 130 years. Then, all of a sudden, 4 attacks, 2 of which were fatal, came along at once, all within a couple of weeks of each other. Fear swept through the communities. Could the bears be learning that people were easy prey? Where they had once been fearful of people, turning the other way when they crossed paths, were they now realizing that people were slower and easier to take down than their typical food? The Alaska Department of Fish and Game urged people to carry bear spray or a gun when out in the wilderness. They tried to ease people's fears after the recent and deadly attacks by describing them as incredibly rare. Brown bears are more notoriously aggressive than black bears, but typically that is only when they are protecting their young. They advised Alaskans to stand their ground if they come across a bear and talk firmly to it rather than run away or play dead. If the bear attacks, they said, it is best to throw rocks or hit it around the face. Sadly, none of this advice worked for Erin, who sadly met her terrifying final affliction.